going to fall.
I spent several of my formative years living in DeKalb County during the Great Caucasian Panic Attack of the late 20th century, perhaps better known as White Flight. Now, I'd love to expound on the less than stellar history of race relations in the American South, but that would take at least 8 minutes, and I only have 7. So I'm going to discuss panic attacks instead. A panic attack is when your brain decides that being in the frozen food aisle of your local supermarket poses as big a threat to your health and safety as armed marauders busting down your door at 3 a.m. in search of flat screens and home-cooked meth. Your brain could be doing productive things like helping you memorize box scores or turning you into a sex addict, but instead it decides its resources would be best spent fucking with your fight or flight response. So what do you do if you have frequent panic attacks? You could flee the scene, you could become a hermit, or you could go to a shrink and have them prescribe you some Xanax. None of these is foolproof. Fleeing the frozen food aisle leaves you ice creamless, and Lord knows if you're feeling pathetic after freaking out in a store, you need some high-calorie frozen treats to ease the pain. Let's face it, you could never stay off of Facebook long enough to be a true hermit, and Xanax comes with a long list of delightful side effects, none of which includes increased ice cream enjoyment. Drowsiness, lightheadedness, dizziness, blurred vision, confusion, diarrhea. How are you going to make the frozen food aisle your bitch if you fall asleep at the wheel of your electric shopping cart after shitting yourself? There aren't enough depends on this planet to make that a workable scenario. Flight sucks, whether the neurochemicals involved come straight from your brain or in convenient tablet form. When you're ready to eschew supermarket aisle incontinence and medication-induced narcolepsy, it's time to fry up some Rocky Mountain oysters and get in that ring. Okay, so some of you are thinking, Krista, I'd love to drown my cowardice in a bowl of cowboy caviar, but what about my cholesterol level? No worries, friends. You can pass on the combo platter of huevos del Toro and still model intestinal fortitude. Just take a cue from my fearless 5-year-old self. When I was 5, I was a young Athena. I fought an epic battle with my elementary school principal, a man with the head of a gorgon. Thankfully, his evil cunning and snakes for hair were no match for my keen intellect and youthful moxie. I'll admit I was scared at first. When one is called upon at the tender age of 5 to battle Medusa's brother for the soul of your entire town, it's a daunting challenge, to say the least. But my town needed me, so I chased the evil snakehead master across the labyrinthine campus of my elementary school. Think typical K-5 mixed with the Mall of Georgia, but with more boiler rooms and fewer pretzel stands. I'm not sure how long it took me to vanquish the beast. It's been decades since the battle, and besides, anyone who has driven more than 10 minutes in a car with a child knows that a 5-year-old's concept of time is a bit undeveloped. If you asked me back then how long it took to get to school on the bus each morning, I'd say an hour. Google Maps says the trip takes 5 minutes by car. Apple Maps says 2 hours and a diving expedition in the Missouri River. Apple Maps is clearly the more accurate of the two. When I went back to school the next day, under the river and through the woods, my principal was alive and well and snakeless. No one thanked me for restoring order to the Hazelwood School District. Everyone acted as though nothing had happened in grades. Though things seemed normal, I refused to let my guard down. I gave the principal the side eye for the rest of the year. As it was, he seemed to be exacting some sort of veiled revenge through a series of punishments akin to medieval torture. Getting sent to the back of the library line, the other kid pushed me first, I swear. And having to sit out recess on more than one occasion. There's no greater torture than having to sit with your teacher while the other kids play in the playground dome in the snow. Now, for those of you thinking, wait, what? You went to school in the snow? Yeah, it's totally a thing. Look it up. Okay, so fighting comes at a price. But isn't being the last one through the library door worth it? Who knows what would have happened to our little St. Louis suburb had I not defeated my Gorgon principal in my sleep? I could have wet the bed and gone crying to mommy, but I didn't. I stood strong and fought my demons to the death, or the dreamlike facsimile. On the battlefield of life, there are two choices. You can surrender to incontinent drowsiness, or you can pick up a pint of Ben & Jerry's limited edition Montana Tendergroins and conquer the world with the pluck of a 5-year-old. I don't know about you, but I say pass the ice cream.